So today we're talking all about Alzheimer's and dementia and how to make sure it doesn't devastate your life savings. Really get some answers to maybe some of your legal, tax, and financial care concerns, and really introduce you to some of the services that are out there. There's a lot of support services that maybe you didn't know about, because you're not alone in this journey. And that's something that we stress here at our law firm, that we really want to bridge that gap between the legal services and the aging network. So as I mentioned, my name is Kyle Hetner. I'm the seminar manager, and there on the screen is my mother on the left and my grandmother, Marie. My grandmother, Marie, also had Alzheimer's, and my mom cared for Marie in her home for many years until she got the phone call in the middle of the night. It was about 2 a.m, January, February, wintertime, and she got the call that Marie was out wandering the neighborhood again in just her slippers and her sweater. And, you know, what do you do at that point when you get that phone call? I mean, maybe you've received a call like that. Hopefully not. But for my mom, it was really awakening that, you know, she was caring as the caregiver for my grandmother for many years, and really when she got that call, it was a really an eye-opening experience that, you know, it's time to put Marie into a nursing home. She couldn't care for my grandmother all by herself anymore. She needed that extra support. Then by no means does that like reflect bad on my mom, because she was doing all that she could to care for her. But she really needed, for peace of mind, to get Marie into that skilled nursing facility that she needed. And in fact, we ended up my mom put her in the Williamsport home, because we live here in South Williamsport, and the Williamsport home's got a great Alzheimer's unit, a locked-in security facility that my mom then had peace of mind that Marie wasn't going to be out wandering the neighborhood in the middle of the night. So maybe you've got that call, or maybe you notice that your loved one is starting to become forgetful or agitated. You know, what steps should you take? And I think for that, I'll turn it over to Holly to kind of talk about some of the medical and care concerns.
My goodness, I could spend all week talking about dementia and what I've experienced over the years. And I guess working hospice for 12 years really allowed me to appreciate the importance of long-term care planning. So I'm glad that everyone is here and you're taking this opportunity to learn more. So as far as the medical standpoint and what you should do is, first and foremost, everybody is so individualized. This is not cookie cutter, which means the same plan does not work for everyone. The same illness dementia does not affect everyone in the same way. So first and foremost is, if you noticed yourself or a family member is starting to get a little forgetful, and there's a difference between forgetful, like, you know, accidentally like misplacing your keys here and there, or forgetting a date, that's okay. I do that. Everybody does that. What we're looking at is, for example, maybe they're putting their keys in the refrigerator. Have you gone home, and this is on the more of the caregiver standpoint, have you gone home and saw that mom and dad may have a couple of dents or dings in their car, and you're not exactly sure where they came from? Or is this you? Are you experiencing just a different type of forgetfulness? Maybe forgetting how to use a microwave, forgetting how to drive a car. Those are important. Those are important, and you need to be concerned about those now. So you start with your doctor. Call your doctor, and that could be your PCP, and let them know what's happening. And you got to realize, like, dementia cannot be diagnosed at one doctor's appointment. So let your doctor know what's happening. They will refer you to a doctor that specializes in this, such as a neurologist. And what we want to do is we want to start painting this picture. What's happening to you? What has happened to you in the past? What's happening now? So we can get an accurate diagnosis, because the one thing that we do know with dementia is it doesn't get better. It's going to get worse. And not dealing with it or hiding from it doesn't make it easier. You really need to take this time to plan. And I will go back to working hospice. I have really understood and valued the need to plan, because I've seen so many people at end stage dementia that didn't plan. It doesn't mean that things can't be done. It just means that we've missed an opportunity to plan. So when you go to your doctor's appointment, you're going to want to come up with like a list of concerns that you have. So remember, when you first go into your doctor's appointment, they only have a certain amount of time to talk with you. So you want to come together with a list. Come together with that list of what's happening to you. Why are you here? What have you noticed? What's your current medications that you're taking? Have that list, because some people take over-the-counter medications and you can't confirm that your doctor's going to have all of those medications or an accurate list. Medications are very important. Have you seen any specialists? Have that information available. If you have seen a specialist, what specialist is that? When did you see them? Get notes of that appointment. Have all of that available. Have you been to the ER or admitted to the hospital? That's important information. Have that available. Once again, you can't depend on your doctor to have that information. You don't want to go in and say, well, I was at the ER, I think, was it Christmas of last year? That's not helpful. Like, the doctors really have a limited amount of time. So come in there and ready to answer the questions, present them with a packet of information. I was at the doctor's on this date. Here's the results. Because once again, the hospital can't always send over the discharge summary, and that's the information that the doctor wants to know. And that discharge summary provides information about why you were there and what they did. History, any falls? Have you had recent falls? What's happening at home? What does that look like? They want to start, again, painting this picture, because if you are going to need more long-term care down the road or more help down the road, they look for a diagnosis. And again, if you have long-term care insurance, they want this information, and they want the concrete information. They want factual information from licensed professionals that can vouch or guarantee, or I just say guarantee, but vouch and confirm that you do have that diagnosis. So first and foremost is go into the medical system and get everybody on board. Now, with a neurologist appointment, they are actually running 6 to 8 months out for a neurologist appointment. So that's the value of getting in there now and getting the appointment scheduled. If they discover that, hey, we don't think it's dementia related, that's okay. It's really easy to cancel an appointment, but it's really hard to get an appointment for a crisis situation. And actually, just this morning, I took 3 calls where they were urgent, where we are dealing with an urgent dementia issue that occurred over the weekend. There was a fall, there was somebody that got lost, and there was another person that was dealing with, they're out of town and their loved one is here, and a neighbor called concerned about safety at home. So that's a little bit about the medical. And once again, we can keep talking about this forever and ever, but we'll take it on to the next slide, which is, where's Kyle coming from? Yes, so like the legal concerns.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Kyle and Holly. That was a strong start. I'm really excited for this panel type discussion that we're having today. There's so much information, so it might seem like we're going through this so fast or throwing a lot of curveballs at you. And we don't do that to overwhelm you. We really do it because there is so much information that we want to provide to you. So as we go through today, if this is something you've been thinking about or something that you hear today, it makes you sit back and think, well, maybe I need to make sure I'm doing everything right now. That's what we're here for. We actually offer free initial consultations at our office. So that's why we provide these seminars, because we know there's a lot of questions that you might have. We know there's a lot of information, so don't hesitate to reach out. No obligation to have a consultation with our office. So I'm going to switch gears here. I'm going to talk a little bit about legal concerns when there is a diagnosis. So we're going to talk about the actual legal documents in a little bit, but right now I want to touch base on why it's important to, when you meet with a law firm, you meet with a law firm that is going to be able to meet your needs. So as an elder law firm, we work with families planning for their second half of life, whether we're starting to retire and going, forward for the rest of our lives, or if there's some sort of care need right now, or we're worried about it in the future. So what's the difference between a regular law firm, an elder law firm, and now I'm going to throw in there a dementia law firm? So how do you know where to go? How do you know who's going to best meet your needs? So let me ask a question. If you have a heart condition, what type of doctor are you going to visit? A cardiologist. So a law firm's the same. You need to work with a law firm that specializes in what you need. A general practice law firm. So there's lots of different types of law firms out there. But a general practice law firm, they dabble in a little bit of everything. But when we're planning for our second half of life, they're only going to get you so far. I always have to say a warning, beware. Many law firms, though, they do slap elder law on their sign. So they do divorces, this, but we're also going to put elder law on here. But just because they say they do elder law doesn't necessarily mean that they do it well. A common issue that Jenna and I run into is a general law firm will put together estate planning documents or maybe a trust, but then when it comes time that the individual might need some type of care, they're not there to support those documents or actually do any type of benefits planning. Oftentimes, those documents aren't good enough either. So Jenna and I end up working with so many families to fix problems that were created by other law firms. At the end of the day, it's a waste of your time, your resources, and your money. So you really need to make sure you have an elder law firm on your side that focuses on the issues that will help you during your second half of life from start to finish. Our office helps you prepare for whatever crisis lies ahead, and we stand by you throughout that time. Now, a dementia law firm might be something that you've not heard of before. And this is really something we've been helping our clients and community with for so many years, but we really had taken a step back and we're focusing on this type of planning and really helping our clients even better and helping our communities even better. And that's really where Holly comes into play. Between Holly, Jenna, and I, you get all of us to figure out what we need to do as far as medically, legally, and the benefits portion of this. So let's say that you or your loved ones receive some type of diagnosis. So it's really scary and overwhelming, and we know that. One of the things that we often hear at our office is people put this off. They put off this type of planning because it's really scary, and nobody wants to plan for this. But after somebody comes in, takes advantage of that free initial consultation and starts working with us, they always come back and say, you know what, we're so glad that we finally made the call. We can't believe we didn't make it sooner. Because one thing I'm sure you're going to find out through our time together today, or if you've worked with us or heard from us before, we're not scary here. We are very professional. We know what we're doing. We are going to help you get through this, but we're also very laid back. And we know that this is scary and you don't need somebody lecturing or giving you a hard time about this. We're here to give you peace of mind and walk you through this process from start to end. Now, when we mentioned diagnosis, and Holly mentioned this a little bit earlier, diagnosis can be everything. So we say dementia, but that it could be dementia, it can be Alzheimer's, it could be another form of dementia. It could also be Parkinson's disease, Huntington's disease. There's so many different types of diagnosis. We hear about dementia the most, but we also help families with any type of diagnosis really to help get through that process. So let's see here. Now, legally, as I mentioned, Jenna's going to come in a little bit and talk about legal documents, powers of attorneys, and wills. But first, I did just want to touch base on the financial end of planning to protect your nest egg. Now, when we talk about your nest egg, that can look so many different ways. Sure, we deal with people that have millions of dollars. We work with individuals who have a bank account with $50 in it. Your nest egg can look so different than somebody's. It doesn't really matter what that looks like. We're here to help figure out what you could be doing right now, or if you need care, what your options are. So skilled nursing home care right now in Pennsylvania, are you ready? Can cost over $11,000 per month. $11,000 a month. That is a very scary number. So as I mentioned, our planning looks so different for every family that we help. It depends on your goals, your situation, your family dynamics, your assets, and your income. So we implement strategies to protect your assets. And we think it's really important that we work alongside your financial professionals or financial advisors to set up a plan that works for everybody. Now, one thing I like to mention, I actually hate to I have to say this, but I do. Sometimes we run into what I'd say is a red flag, where there's a financial advisor that doesn't want to work with your law firm. Now, the financial advisors, their job is to grow your wealth, but they're not able to set up strategies that we can set up to protect your wealth from long-term care costs. So sometimes we get a little pushback from financial advisors, or families do. And I think at the end of the day, it's because there's not enough information out there about how we all work together. When we work with your financial advisors, we're not taking anything away from them. They can still manage your assets just like they are now. It just might look a little bit different. So it's really important to have a partnership between all of your professionals, legal, financial, and medical. And that's something we feel really important about. And we do that for all of our clients that we work with. So the first step, of course, is just making the phone call to get this all set up for you. Again, medically, financial, legally, getting the right diagnosis and getting your finances set up in a manner that they will not be consumed by the state of Pennsylvania or the nursing home. So I want to take, I actually want to switch back over. I want to bring Holly back on. I want her to share a little bit about how Steinbacher Good on Your Check is what we're doing at the firm to go above and beyond, not just what we've talked about so far, but other things that we're doing to be a dementia-focused and a dementia-friendly law firm.
So thank you, Kristin. Yes, so we take a team approach here at the firm. And as a nurse, that's why I'm so grateful that the firm and we've decided to do this and to really come together, because there is so many moving pieces, and a lot of times we're all moving at the same time. And as Kristin mentioned, there's the legal component, there's the financial component, there's the healthcare component. And when we're working with our families that have a dementia diagnosis, and as Kristin mentioned, there are several diagnoses. There's actually over 50. So some people don't realize, like, Parkinson's is actually under the umbrella of dementia. So in our firm, if you come into the conference room, if you come into our building, we've set the conference room up where it's a little more friendly. And we've taken away some of the clutter. We recognize that there's somebody coming in with dementia, so we make the environment a little more calmer. There's colors that we can use. There's music that can be played. Sometimes we have a white noise machine that we have available. Lighting is a concern as well. We may shut blinds if there's a lot of distraction outside. You're going to notice that we have name tags now that are bigger with just our first name, which is really important, because people like to know who they're talking to. And many times I've had people come up to me and just grab my name tag and try to read it when I was, a nurse, and it was hard for them to read. They want to know who they're with. And we have equipment in the room as well. There's Y pens that are available for people to sign. You can Google those. It's shaped as a Y, and it just makes it easier for the person to hold and to be able to sign their name. Let's see, we position a lot about how we position ourselves with the person and how we approach them. As Kyle mentioned, we are certified a dementia practitioner, and other people in our firm are as well. And we're working to have everybody will be eventually certified. So we're understanding approach. There's little things that you can do. Like, it's proper in our culture to reach out and shake your hand. But with a dementia person, if I'm coming to them with my hand, they may think I'm going to hit them or I'm going to smack them. So we don't do that. We come and we sit in front of them. Don't approach people from the side. That startles them. You need to position yourself in front and come directly in front of them so they can realize that you're coming and they won't be afraid. We also work in a law firm, our whole team, we develop relationships with the people that specialize in dementia. So for example, we have relationships in all of the facilities that have a secured unit. So we can help facilitate that process. It can be very overwhelming. Where do I start? Well, we'll help, and we ask questions about what's important to you, and we understand the agencies in the areas and the communities that specialize in what's important for you. We also have relationship with doctors and neurologists, so we can call and gather some of that information as well for you, because once again, it is overwhelming navigating the system. So there are documents that we need from the doctors and from like a neurologist, depending on what plan that you need and what plan works for you, depends on what documents we're going to need. So we can help you facilitate that. Our intake process has also been streamlined. We're gathering some information at the beginning. You'll be asked a couple questions, and if it's flagged that dementia might be an area that we need to focus on, that's good to know in advance so we can start thinking about that. And we're constantly upgrading and constantly changing what we do based on the new research that comes out regarding dementia and the Alzheimer's. And as Kyle mentioned, we are very involved with the Alzheimer's Association and the local chapters. So we work with them to make sure that we're doing everything that needs to be done to help our families and those with dementia. So that's a little bit about what we do. And I know we're going to be moving on to talking about some of those care options that are available to you.
Great, thanks, Holly. So far we've talked a little bit about what we as a law firm are doing and what we can offer in really those first steps with the medical, financial, and legal. But I think it's really important to then step back and talk a little bit about what type of care is even available. We often work with families who aren't even aware of all the options. So we always like to, really give that information and help families navigate what makes the most sense. So in our area, we are very, very, very lucky. We have a variety of ways to receive and also pay for care. So care choices range from in-home care to facility care, and of course, some options in between. Most of us want to stay home no matter what, which is great, as long as it's practical and safe. There are agencies that provide in-home care services, or you can also hire an individual on your own. Sometimes when we're in our homes, we may need a little bit more of socialization, or our caregiver might need a little bit of help, whether it's some type of respite, maybe our caregiver still works, or maybe they just need a break. So there are some adult day centers in our area that can provide that a little additional help as well. There's also a life program, which is a great option as well, where you can go to 1 day a week or 5 days a week. They come pick you up, take you to their center. It's a great option for the additional socialization. Sometimes though, in-home care is not enough, and we need to look at some type of facility placement. Placement options range from independent living to skilled nursing facilities, but let me just briefly dive into what those could look like. Let's start with personal care homes or senior living communities. These are really a great option for someone who needs some supports out of their home, maybe just can't stay at home in their own home for whatever reason. This level of care provides meals, medications, some supervision, activities, socialization, some help with your medical needs, personal care needs, and even possibly memory support. Now, depending on how little or how much care you need, the price range can really be broad here. Some of these communities could be $3,000. Some of them can be $8,000 or more a month. Now, memory care facilities are a great option for individuals who have memory impairments but are otherwise healthy. So physically, there's not a lot happening, but cognitively, we need some supports. These types of facilities focus on memory enhancing activities and therapies, meeting all of their residents' needs while providing a safe and secured environment. I like the memory care facilities. It's a really great option because they're so specific and so focused on just cognitive impairments and helping those families. They often have additional like trainings and certifications and types of therapies that they can do with their residents. So skilled nursing facilities are the highest level of care. This is the level of care we're looking at about $11,000 a month. So in skilled nursing facilities, we generally are seeing individuals who have really high medical needs or really high levels of cognitive impairment. Now, continuing care retirement communities, CCRCs, we have a little bit more options for CCRCs in our state college area, but there is one in the Williamsport area as well. But a CCRC really encompasses all levels of care, starting at independent living, moving up to personal care, and also having skilled. It's a great option for those who want to age in place. Now, most CCRCs only accept private pay, and the cost can really range based on the community you're in, the level of care you're receiving, and what your needs really are. Many CCRCs also have a very large buy-in. Not all of them, but some of them do, which could be a couple $100,000. Now, I think CCRCs are a fantastic option. Again, you can age in place there. But if you're thinking about that, we really encourage you to go and start looking at the options right now. Because again, they all work so different and they all offer something a little bit different as well. Sometimes we're working with families who, their heart is set on this place, but once they go and visit with it, they find out it's not for them. So just going and, educating yourself and really being able to figure out if it's a good fit for you. So how do you pay for care? So you can privately pay for any care that you receive, but in-home care, we're looking at probably $25 an hour. Nursing homes, like I mentioned, can be over $11,000 a month. So you could quickly become impoverished paying for care out of your pocket. So if you are a veteran, a spouse, or a widow of a veteran, you may be eligible for an aid and attendance pension benefit through the Veterans Administration. This can be a benefit of up to about $2,000 a month if you meet the medical and financial criteria for the program. Long-term care insurance is a great option, but every long-term care insurance policy works a little bit differently. So you need to make sure if you have a policy already, or if you're considering purchasing a policy, what does it cover? What levels of care does it provide for in-home care and facility, or just one or the other? How much is the daily benefit? With skilled nursing home care right now at $350 a day on average, a policy with a benefit of $100 a day just is not going to be good enough. How about Medicare? So I think it's often confusing with Medicare and Medicaid. They're very different programs, but they sound so similar. So it's easy to get those two confused. Now, Medicare is a short-term solution for long-term care. So most Medicare recipients think that they will receive 100 days of coverage per year if they need nursing home care. Unfortunately, though, that's not true. The keywords are up to 100 days a year. So most individuals only receive about 20 days of coverage. So it's really important to have other options in place. So I always say if a crisis hits and you are not expecting it, and your loved one needs nursing home care, as soon as they're moving into a skilled nursing facility, you need to give us a call so we can get started, because you're going to be surprised if on day 18 they say Medicare coverage is about to end, and we could have had 18 days there to get started on your plan. Now, Medicaid. Medicaid is the only long-term solution to pay for nursing home care. So I am one of the few certified Medicaid planners in Pennsylvania. And I could sit here all day long and talk to you about Medicaid, but I'd probably bore you. And I'm sure you all want to get outside because the sun is shining and it's beautiful. But most residents in nursing homes are actually covered under Medicaid. So you might be thinking, well, wait, isn't Medicaid an impoverishment program? Don't you need to be poor to qualify for Medicaid? And yeah, it is an impoverishment program, but there are strategies that we can implement to get you qualified for Medicaid to protect your assets from your nursing home care. There's actually even a Medicaid program that pays for care in your home. Now, I think we should shift gears a little bit. Jenna, we've let her off the hook here for the last 40 minutes. So let's have Jenna come in and talk a little bit about legal documents that everybody needs to have for their second half of life.
Great. So first and foremost, if you guys get nothing else out of this presentation, please get this one thing. It is so important to have good powers of attorney in place. A power of attorney is just a written legal document where you're authorizing someone else to be able to make financial and healthcare decisions for you. Now, this isn't such a big deal if you can make your own decisions, but what happens if you can't make these decisions? Either for a short period of time, or if you end up with dementia for a longer period of time. If you get to this point where you can't make your own decisions, no one is legally authorized to just step in and make financial decisions for you. Believe it or not, your spouse can't even just automatically step in and make these decisions on your behalf. I'm sure many of you listening today have tried contacting the cable or the electric company and it's in your spouse's name. Chances are they won't talk to you. They won't even let you pay the bill. This is true for any type of financial account. Your spouse can't do anything if the account is in your name and your spouse doesn't have a power of attorney for you. So if you have no power of attorney and something happens where you can't make your own decisions, your loved ones will have to seek what's called a legal guardianship. This is really just a court process where your family is asking the judge to appoint a guardian to be able to make your financial and your healthcare decisions. This is a costly process, and because we have to go through the court systems, it's very time consuming. So it's easier and it makes for a much better transition on your loved ones to have a power of attorney in place to avoid, going through that entire process. So if you have no powers of attorney, please put these in place. If you do have powers of attorney, have these reviewed by an elder law attorney. As attorneys who focus on planning for your second half of life, there are a few things in particular that your power of attorney must have. Most powers of attorney, unfortunately, that our office sees, they don't include what's necessary. Sometimes having bad powers of attorney is just as bad as having no powers of attorney. That's why it's always good to have an elder law attorney review these. Elder law attorneys are basically the attorneys that help you plan for your second half of life. They help you plan for retirement. They help you plan for needing long-term care. They help you plan for your passing. So these are the attorneys you really want to meet with when you're dealing with any of those types of situations. So please, if you get nothing else out of this today, please make sure that you have good powers of attorney in place. Now, keep in mind that powers of attorney are only in place while you're living. Then once you pass away, the powers of attorney are no longer in effect. At that point, we look at your will to see how you wanted your assets to be distributed once you pass away. Your will should state who your beneficiaries are and also who will be the executor that pays your debts and expenses and makes sure that your beneficiaries receive what they're supposed to. It's important to understand that your will likely doesn't apply to every asset you own. If you hold an account jointly with someone else, or if one of you passes away, chances are that that account will automatically pass 100% to the surviving account holder. So a lot of times this comes into play when we're planning for clients that have dementia or we're planning for long-term care. We'll look at who holds different assets and we might have to move some things around. The documents are really important, but it's more important to have a good overall plan so that you and your family will know what will happen if you pass away or if you get sick and need care. This makes a transition much easier on you and also on your loved ones. Now, other than having good documents in place, what should I be doing today to plan for long-term care costs? As we've already mentioned, the best thing to do right now if you're worried about the cost of long-term care is to meet with an elder law attorney. They can walk you through the options and talk to you about whether any asset protection options would make sense for your situation. I'll be honest with you, these long-term care plans that we put in place for clients, they look very different for each situation because all of our clients are so unique. The different options that we put in place, it all depends on your health, your goals, your family situation, and your assets. An elder law attorney can talk to you about all of this and figure out the best plan that works for you. Oftentimes, our long-term care plans might include transferring assets into a trust. By doing this, if you need care in the future, you have less assets in your name and you would qualify for government benefits to help cover the costs of your care faster. Now, in this presentation, I wasn't going to get too in depth as far as the trusts that we use. I will tell you that when we are talking about putting trusts in place to protect assets against the cost of long-term care, in Pennsylvania, we're always talking about irrevocable trusts. Only irrevocable trusts in Pennsylvania offer protection against creditors like the nursing home or the state. The one thing I wanted to mention is I think a lot of clients hear that irrevocable word and they panic, because they don't want to put anything in place that locks their assets away so they never have access to them. That is not how this works. We use these irrevocable trusts day in and day out. There's still a lot of flexibility. This is a way that you're able to keep control of your assets, but you're also able to protect those assets from the costs of long-term care. So really, this is a way that you can have your cake and eat it too. This is the best way to keep power over your assets, but you're also protecting against creditors. Now, we typically recommend that clients meet with us at least 5 years before they need care. Unfortunately, none of us has a crystal ball to know whether or when we will need care. But the point is that planning earlier is typically better. If you need care at some point and ask the government to help pay for your care, they will look at what's called the 5-year look back. Basically, once you need care and you ask the government to step in and help pay, they're going to ask for the past 5 years of bank statements and all of the other statements for your different accounts for the past 5 years. Basically, they're looking for any gifts over $500 per month that you've made in the past 5 years. Depending on how much money you've gifted away, they will penalize you and they will not pay for your care for a period of time. Because of this 5-year look back period, you can't just wait and gift your assets right before you need care. You want to make any gifts at least 5 years prior to needing care. So again, planning earlier is always better. Now, probably the most popular question that Kristin and I hear all the time is whether it makes sense to gift your house to your child for $1. While it sounds like a simple solution, there are many potential consequences that everybody should know. First, you want to consider the tax consequences. Usually by avoiding one tax, another tax might be lurking in the dark, and that other tax might be worse. So you definitely want to understand the tax consequences of what you're doing. Second, we need to consider what we refer to as the 4 Ds: debt, disability, divorce, and death. So what if mom gives her home to her daughter for $1 and the daughter has a creditor? Well, the home is now the daughter's asset and it's available to her creditors, so she could lose the house to the creditors. Or what if the daughter becomes disabled and needs benefits? Having her mother's house in her name could disqualify her from any government benefits that she might otherwise qualify for. Or what if the daughter's married and ends up getting divorced? The mom's house will likely be a part of the divorce settlement. And who knows if that ex-spouse wants the mom to live there anymore. And lastly, the one we hope that never happens, what if the daughter passes away? We don't know what that daughter's will says, so we don't actually know who's going to end up with mom's house. Although these seem like enough reasons to second guess outright gifting the house to the daughter, we still have another factor, the Medicaid. Gifting the house to the daughter could prevent mom from qualifying for Medicaid. So that's just one other factor that we want to take into consideration when we look at gifting your house to your child. Now, what if I didn't plan ahead and the crisis hits and I need care today? Do I have any options at this point? Go ahead, Kristin, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Jenna. Yeah, so this is a really great question. I think it's really important to just take a moment to, address this question. We always would recommend planning ahead, planning before the crisis, planning before the 5 years, as Jenna mentioned. Now, we don't have a crystal ball. We never know when somebody's going to get sick, who's going to get sick. So at times, there's not a plan in place. So what's really important to know is even if you did not put a plan in place, there are still options. It's not too late. Now, one thing I will say with that, while we still will have some types of options if we wait till you get sick and need care, we have to make sure that ahead of time you have really good legal documents in place. So I'm just going to reiterate what Jenna mentioned a few moments ago. If all you get from the seminar today is I need to have good legal documents in place, that's great, because that helps us no matter what stage of planning we get involved with you guys in. So it's really important to know that even if you need care, there's still options, and we can help protect what's most important to you, whether we're protecting for your spouse, your children, other beneficiaries, or protecting your assets for a charity. Whatever your plan looks like, whatever your goals are, we still have options. Now, again, really important to be working with an elder law firm to implement these strategies to make sure things are done correctly, because it is very strategic when we're dealing with care right now, and things have to be done in a very structured manner. Now, one last thing I want to mention with this is I think it's even more important to make sure you have a plan in place, or you at least are working with an elder law firm when your spouse needs care, because your spouse could easily become impoverished without putting a plan in place. Pennsylvania is pretty fair when it comes to protecting the spouse that doesn't need care. But again, we have to put everything in place in a very structured manner. So it's really important to us that your spouse that doesn't need care ever feels like they would lose their house, their income, or become impoverished paying for nursing home care. We never want somebody to feel like that when they're already dealing with such a difficult situation. So having a plan in place is good, but if you didn't plan ahead of the crisis, there's still options at that time. Okay, so I thought we'd spend our last few minutes. We're going to have Holly jump back on. She has some interesting things to share about like some caregiver support groups and some other resources that we have to offer and some throughout the community. Again, really important to provide education and provide resources to let everybody know they're not alone through this process, that there are supports, and we are here to help you through that. Holly?
All right. So yes, we have many resources available. We have a support group now that meets the second Tuesday of every month, and it's through the Alzheimer's Association. And if you're interested, you can contact the office and we can give you some information. The slide is up there as well, my email address. So if you're interested in learning more and joining in on the group, feel free to do so. Email me. And again, that group is focused a lot toward caregivers, but anybody is welcome to participate. We are in the future going to be starting another support group where the focus is going to be early diagnosis, early onset, helping people start planning, a support group, just a safe place to come to talk about what you are personally experiencing. Now, due to COVID, everything is being done virtual. And so that's what makes some of this challenging, and everything that we do is affected by COVID. So right now, everything is virtual, and hopefully in the future, we'll be moving to in-person groups. The Alzheimer's Association is a great resource. There's a lot of information on that website. We have a lot of contacts in the association where we can help connect you to. Every county has an Office of Aging. That's another great resource. They have information on support groups. They have information on just how to take care of yourself. I know Center County, they have what we refer to as the Green Book. And it's great that Center County put this together, but basically it's all the resources in one little booklet. It's about 62 pages, and they created a PDF file of that as well. So a PDF file can be emailed to you. That is a great resource. And again, every county has something for that. Our firm wrote, there's the slide of the resource. There's free resources available throughout the firm. Many people participated in writing books focused on the Alzheimer's diagnosis. There's one if you're a caregiver. There's one if you've been newly diagnosed. There's one just talking about the disease in general. As we mentioned, we do have a podcast that's available. That podcast has a playlist that focuses on dementia because there's many different podcasts there. You're welcome to listen to them all. They're all very valuable. But if you go into the playlist, there is one that's focused on dementia and the Alzheimer's. YouTube channel is great. That has information. What's great is that you can read it or listen to it any time of the day, and you can send that information to friends and family. If you are experiencing this, if this personally hits home to you, sometimes the most hardest part is talking to your family members about this, letting your family members know that, hey, listen, I'm a little concerned that this is happening. So we're here to help you with that process. And these books are available free of charge to help you start that conversation. The Alzheimer's Association actually started a project that is basically called that, starting the conversation, how to have that conversation. So we work a lot with families on that as well, because sometimes people will call in and they need to start with power of attorneys. And I agree with Jenna, as a nurse, if you get anything out of this, do your power of attorneys. As a nurse, there was many times that I had families come up to me and they wanted something done and they handed me a power of attorney and it wasn't right. Because sometimes people did power of attorneys 10 years ago, and what you wanted done 10 years ago and the person that you wanted in charge 10 years ago made sense, but now it doesn't make sense, or you have a diagnosis now that you didn't have then. And I witnessed firsthand decisions that were made based on that power of attorney that was done then, or one that wasn't done at all. So that's like dear and near to my heart, is have those in place. So that's a little bit about our resources. We're constantly adding new resources. We're working with memory care units, doing lunch and learns within the facility, educating family members through the facility or the community that their loved one is in. And if anybody's on Facebook, social media, they have many, like on Facebook, they have groups that focus on dementia, focus on the Alzheimer's. If anything from the COVID virus that has made things a little different is within the association or any websites, there are different type of groups that you can participate in. So you don't have to physically show up anymore. You can participate in a group that's in, say, Arizona, Colorado. If you're caring for somebody that has dementia, sometimes you're up at night with them and you need the rest during the day. So it's great that you have access to this material 24 hours a day, that you don't always have to physically attend an event. You can gather this information through online groups and such as we're doing here today, a virtual seminar. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit about our resources, and my email address is there. So feel free to email me directly. I'll put it in the chat box as well. And I'm always here to answer questions and to support you.
Okay, great. Now, if this presentation has created a lot of questions or concerns, or if you just feel like you don't even know where to start, maybe you've gotten a diagnosis and you just don't even know where to go from here, please feel free to reach out to us. So as Kristin mentioned, we have free initial consultations or strategy sessions. So you have nothing to lose. And what we're going to do in that strategy session, if you reach out to us, is we're going to look over your estate planning documents. We're going to look over what you have, if you have anything like powers of attorney and wills, just to make sure they are what they need to be. We're going to develop a plan based on what you talk to us about, what your goals are, what your family situation's like, how your health is. And while I wish that I could sit here and tell you exactly how things are going to play out if you do have a diagnosis of dementia, unfortunately, it just doesn't usually play out like that. This looks a lot of different ways for a lot of different clients, but what we will do is we will make sure that all the plan and the documents are in place so that no matter what happens down the road, you and your family will have an easy transition. We will also answer any unique situation questions that you might have, if there's something different going on in your family as well. So at the end of our time together, you'll know what documents you need, if anything. You'll know what your options are as far as care goes, because we're going to talk through that. You know, what type of care you're actually looking for, how you plan to pay for that care if it's necessary. Most importantly, after all of our time together, you're going to have peace of mind knowing that you'll be taken care of and that your loved ones will have an easy transition and they won't have any big obstacles in their way that we didn't actually plan on. So that's really the key in all of this, that you have peace of mind. Usually after our meeting, we develop a written plan, because I don't know about everybody else, but I like to have something in writing to look at so that I know what to plan on down the road. We will work with you to implement the plan depending on what we need to do. If you need any legal documents prepared, we will help you prepare those. And most importantly, we are going to hold your hand and walk you through this process from start to finish. If this is something that interests you, or if you just, like I said, you don't know where to start, feel free to reach out to us. You can either call this number, 800-351-8334, and you can schedule this strategy session that way. If you are a little more tech savvy, or if you're comfortable with it, the easiest way to schedule with our office is to go to chatwithsgy.com. You'll actually get to choose to either meet in the Williamsport office or the State College office, and then you can actually schedule the appointment depending on what our availability is, you know, according to your schedule. So you don't even have to get on the phone and talk to anybody. You can just schedule it right online if you prefer. Remember, with this strategy session, you'll find out what documents, if any, that you'll need. You'll know what your care options are as far as the dementia goes and what that might look like down the road. And lastly, you're going to have peace of mind knowing that you and your loved ones are going to be better prepared for anything that happens down the road. And then here is a slide with that information on it again, just in case you guys weren't able to jot that down previously. Oh, and something else I wanted to mention. These strategy sessions, for the most part right now, are being held over Zoom or telephone call, just for the most part, so everybody's aware.